Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Hurry Up. I'm your host, Adam. Let's get into it. So let's recap the Thursday night football game. What a phenomenal game it was. One of the best I've seen in a long time. Kansas City always makes it fun on prime time. And hey, look at those Chargers. Man, did they have? Did I think they were going to win? That would have been a big statement game. Their defense is lacking a little bit. Obviously, they still can't keep up with Kansas City. And when you do stuff like that, it's hard to have a bend but don't break defense against a team like Kansas City, who happens to be surging at the correct time. Right? They were 3-4 early on to start, and now they've won like 6 in a row up until last night. So they are headed in the right direction. They got their 10th win of the season. They are now in full control of the AFC West. And what a game. Just what a game by two young quarterbacks who we're going to see this duel go on for the next 8 to 10 years. So buckle up, folks. It's going to be one of those duels where if you're old enough to remember the Marinos of the day, Marino versus Elways of the day, you can even say Aikman versus Young. You know what I mean? Things of that, those kind of, you could say Peyton versus Brady. I mean, somebody said yesterday, oh, well, this is not Peyton, they're not Peyton and Brady's level yet. I said, you're not understanding a rivalry to have two marquee quarterbacks to basically sit down and watch every Sunday or every week if they're on primetime. And trust me, LA will be back on primetime. That kid Herbert, they got themselves a good one. I'm talking about a good one. This kid is ballsy. He's accurate. And dang, he got that it factor that you just can't explain. There are things that he's doing out there that just elevating the entire team. He's so good, he's elevating the defense. Now, the defense got to make plays. I mean, you can't take bad angles at the end of a game like that in overtime. You just can't do it. Then defense let Kelsey kind of run down the middle of the field. So, and then he jukes and goes the other way, and boom, touchdown. Kansas City, because if they stop him, they kick a field goal and the Chargers could go down and win, but the defense did not do them any favors. The Chargers do themselves any favors going 3 and out, obviously, prior to that, but, Kansas City is Kansas City for a reason. They're the defending AFC champs for a reason. They've been to the Super Bowl 2 out of the last 2 years in a row. They've been to the AFC Championship game 3 years in a row. So they're gearing up. They took a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover the first 7 weeks of the season, and now the last remaining 10 games, I think you're going to see a different ball club, one that's going to prime itself for another possible Super Bowl run. But it was fun to see another team like LA come out of nowhere and really develop on the national stage. You really got to see Justin Herbert at his best. He already has 30 touchdowns this season, 30 plus, and he's got 4 or 5 games. He's got 3 or 4 games left. Excuse me, not 4 or 5. 3 or 4 games left to add to those totals. That's insane. And I hope we see this kid for a long, long time. But as you know, I'm wearing Giant gear for a reason. They play the Cowboys this season. Give a quick preview / some news and notes that we're hearing around the league. So right now, the media is doing their tour of kicking the Giants while they're down, and I don't blame them. Especially with this fan base, I do not blame them for kicking the Giants while they're down. It's something that, if you're the media, what do you have to talk about? The team stinks. So obviously they're going to talk about the GM search. If you guys don't think Gettleman's being fired, well, you need to read the tea leaves. He's out of here, whether he resigns or not is a different story. And people who think it's just Mara and not Gettleman, you got to understand how the dynamic of a football team works. Your owner has final say on how you're going to spend, who you're going to spend on, and whether or not you're opening the purse strings or not, depending on the cap situation. And John Mara this year, yes, has he had influence on the coaching staff? Yes. And Jason Garrett, obviously. Do I believe he's going to bring Joe Judge back? Unfortunately, right now, he's bringing him back. If he falters these 4 games and the Giants get blown out the next 4, it might be a different story come January 10th when Black Monday happens in the NFL. He may be one of the candidates that goes. I can't just sit here and say, oh, Joe Judge done nothing. No. For those who say you can't blow it up every 2 years, you can certainly blow it up every 2 years. Because, that's what franchises do. No. You got to find the guy that works. Okay? If it's not working after 2 years, you got to find the guy that works. You can't just say, well, let's keep him on as a lame duck coach. Because somebody said it best last night when I was talking to them. What makes you want to play for that guy if that guy goes 0-3? If Joe Judge comes out next year and he gets a new offensive coordinator and they struggle out the gate, why would a guy say, let me, I'm going to give you effort, but this guy's not going to be here. Maybe I'm not going to be here. Why am I going to work hard? You know, you don't know what happens. Going into a situation as a lame duck is usually not the way you want to do things in an organization. So it's a catch-22. You're damned if you fire him, and you're damned if you don't fire him, right? Because if next year he doesn't do well, now let's hope he does well. Let's hope that Joe Judge turns it around, and we're not talking about him getting fired and the quarterback leaving, you know. But that leads me to the GM search, right? So Gettleman, he's gonna be sent packing. They're gonna say, hey, take your books, take your suitcase, go to Cape Cod. Here's a nice Rolex. See ya. Thanks for nothing. Bye. Right? See ya. But there's media rumors that are saying that guys don't want to come here already who's a possible GM candidate because they don't want Joe Judge. And that's where this problem is happening. Okay? You either keep it all together and say, listen, we're going to go with Kevin Abrams and Joe Judge for a year. This is their swan song. That's it. If they do well, great. If not, they're gone. If I'm Kevin Abrams, I don't necessarily want that deal because I have a gushy job right now being the capologist for the Giants. Been doing it for a long time. Assistant GM title, like it. Don't really want to move. That's just my thought process. I would bring a guy from the outside, but it's going to be hard when you're forcing a coach upon them, somebody that they didn't hire and they have to tie their future to. And not to mention a quarterback who's injured right now with a back injury, and you don't know the severity. Nobody knows except for the Giants the severity of the injury, which leads me to getting into this. If you're a GM and you're coming in here, and I know people are like, oh, well, everyone's going to love this job and they're going to want to be here. Like, no, not if you don't want Joe Judge, not if you don't want Daniel Jones. It's hard to sell that to somebody. It's like selling somebody a house that's turnkey, ready to go, but you're telling them you can't do any renovations, or you can't, change the furniture out or the decorations out. No, you have to keep what's there, buy it or not. Right? And it's, if you go into a house or you buy something or you're purchasing something big and you're coming into it and they're telling you, yeah, you kind of own this, but you don't. What do you think is going to happen? You're going to get a lot of people like, you're going to go an up-and-comer, maybe from another team, or maybe a guy like a Scott Pioli who's like, fine with me. As long as I get to fire Joe Judge whenever I want to, fine. I mean, heck, if I were interviewing for the GM, I'd lie to John Mara's face. I'd say, yeah, I'll keep Joe Judge. Turn around and be like, you're fired. You're fired, if that's what I want to do. Because I'm not tying my future to him. And, the Giants are a losing franchise, and they're doing losing franchise moves, which is going to possibly let a GM resign and or be fired, and then bring in another GM who has to inherit the quarterback and the coach. I mean, the Giants have done this since Eli Manning. This is why I said in my last video, Eli Manning was at fault for a certain degree. It's not necessarily Eli Manning's fault that John Mara loves Eli Manning. But there's a reason why he didn't get let go. When Tom Coughlin got let go, they kept Eli Manning on. And then they kept him on into 2019, where they basically forced a coach in Pat Shurmur and Gettleman, who was, again, a yes man, because, let's be honest, nobody wanted to keep Eli Manning. That was on the outside. They wanted to make changes, and John Mara didn't want to make changes. So if you were the GM, you had to also like Eli Manning. In comes Gettleman, who was around when Eli Manning goes. Easy yes man for John Mara and staff. By the way, let's not forget Dave Gettleman brought in Patrick Omame, Nate Solder, Jonathan Stewart. He gave a huge contract to Kareem Martin. I don't know if guys remember him. He was a bum, a bust. He was a D lineman that was converted to a linebacker in Arizona. Didn't work out here. He was made an edge rusher, but that's not usually what he did. They brought in Antoine Bethea. Oh, he was a great signing at 34 years old. The guy was on AARP. Come on, give me a break. But yeah, we want to keep him, right? And so here we are in the GM search. Media outlets are saying that they don't know. They know guys who may want to come here but don't want to come here because of Joe Judge and Dan Jones being here. That is one of the issues we discussed when it comes to these type of moves. If you don't clean house entirely, which I believe they should do, clean house entirely, get rid of the quarterback, start over fresh with a new GM and a new coach, just like the 49ers did when they brought in John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. They gave him a 6-year contract and they said, go. Here you go. And that team has been to the Super Bowl been to the playoffs a few times, been to the Super Bowl once, is fighting for the playoffs right now. You know what I mean? That's how you kind of do an organization. Right now, we look like the Jets, bringing in a Joe Douglas, firing Adam Gase, then bringing in Robert Saleh, and now you're trying to make it work here. And I think sometimes having an arranged marriage doesn't always work out. You don't love the person, you don't know the person. They're here, they've already established themselves. That's why I think one of the GM hires is probably going to have a huge tie with Joe Judge. Kind of some history there. Something that you like, whether I don't really like that. I want somebody that's not with Joe Judge, not any familiarity with the Giants. Louis Riddick's name's bantied about, but I don't know if that's the guy or if he's going to want to keep Joe Judge. This is going to be a saga that's going to play out for the next few weeks. Now, if the Giants completely collapse, and I have to hear at the end of the year, if the Giants are 5-12 or 4-13, and I hear that that's progress, I don't know. I'm into mathematics. 6-10 is better than 5-12 or 4-13. Just saying. I mean, guys got fired for less from this job. And Mara now is having, revisionist history. Well, we didn't give McAdoo time, and we didn't give Sherwood time. I don't give a damn about giving them time. You knew when Bill Parcells came in that second year, he got his guys, and away they went in 84. He came in 83, okay? He failed in 83. They were about to fire him. They said, George Young was like, they didn't like each other. George Young and Bill Parcells is well documented. They didn't like each other. They gave it another try, and it worked out. In Tom Coughlin's year, Tom Coughlin came in with Ernie Accorsi. They weren't, the best marriage, but they made it work. And in 2006, people forget, Tom Coughlin was on the outs coming in 2007 if he didn't do anything big, if they didn't win a playoff game. And lo and behold, they won a Super Bowl with a quarterback that was much maligned and people hated. Then in 2015, they canned Tom Coughlin, gave the job to McAdoo, spent money for the first time in a long time. McAdoo goes to the playoffs, does a bad thing. The next year, the team's ravaged with injury, probably brings back, you probably should bring back McAdoo, but because he botched the Eli Manning benching and the backlash of the fan base was so big, he was fired. So in comes Pat Shurmur, who probably was the only coach at that time willing to take Eli Manning, and the crapshoot that was the Giants at that time. And of course, the Giants didn't want to rebuild. They bring in Saquon Barkley. Now, whether you like the pick or not, it's irrelevant. They brought in Barkley. I'm going to sit here and debate whether the pick was bad or not because many Giant fans didn't like the pick, but I'm sure you were loving the 2018 season when he's dancing all over the place and basically becoming the offensive rookie of the year or damn near close to it. So you can't sit here and tell me you didn't like him. You don't like him now because he did what everybody told you that he was going to do, was get injured and be out of the lineup. So, if you like 2018 season, but you don't like Barkley now, it's tough. And trust me, I liked Barkley. I wanted Nelson or a trade down. No one's going to know that now because you guys didn't see my video, didn't have a video of it. So for all you know, I could be talking out the side of my face, but I have a friend who I spoke to. He asked me the same question. He said, Adam, what would you, gun to your head, what would you do? I told him I would pick Quentin Nelson to start the team. And he said, exactly. And but the Giants didn't want to do that because, hey, guess what? Eli Manning was still here. They wanted to make a run at it. So a lot of the problems have been, yes, the owner has been a part of the problem because of his loyalty. And I think the problem with Dave Gettleman is the loyalty right now. And I think the Giants are being too loyal to Joe Judge, a guy who's done nothing in the NFL outside of being a special teams coach. And because Bill Belichick, he called and said, hey, yeah, that's good, better than the last two hires you had. Here we are. So, like it or love it, the Giants, I think, will be changing GMs. Let's hope it's not in-house. Let's hope it's a little bit, here's what I think the Giants need to do. Think outside the box. You did it with Joe Judge, right? Joe Judge was an outside the box type of hire for the Giants. Normally, they get a guy like Jason Garrett. They get a guy like Mike McCarthy. They get a big fish, you know. This time, they didn't go with a big fish. They went with somebody unorthodox. And it was one of those things where I enjoyed the move at first. And that's why they hired Garrett, because Mara, in my eyes, believed if Judge failed his first season and went like 1-15 before the 17 game schedule, 1-15, he could have fired him and said, "Yep, Jason, you're now the new interim coach," and then Jason Garrett's probably the coach going forward, right? But that didn't happen, and now you have this turmoil that is the Giants, this mess that's the Giants. Fans can't even agree to fire the person. Some want to keep him around. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just, what are you going to do? And then this draft is a big draft coming up for whomever is making the picks, and so like I said. Already one candidate, according to some media reports, whether they're right or not. Jordan Renan talked to somebody on ESPN radio who kind of told him he knew somebody that is a GM candidate but doesn't want the job because Joe Judge is here. So we'll see. Maybe there's mutual interest and that person will come in and say, "Listen, I want this job, but Joe Judge is not my guy. Let's either figure something out or see you later." So. And as for the game on Sunday, it's gonna be one of those games, and this will be my last couple points. I know the coaching staff is not too high on Jake Fromm. I know the fan base is not too high on Jake Fromm, and the media is not too high on Jake Fromm. This is evaluation time. If Joe Judge is coming back, as did a lot of coaches that are going on, yeah, you want to win the game, but you have no playoffs. And there's nothing to establish here outside of who's coming back next year and who's not. And those are the guys I want to see on the field. You want to keep Carter on there? Fine. Well, then bring him. Then shorten his reps up so I can get a guy like Ellerton Smith in the game. If Mike Glennon is being crappy and it's a 30-0, middle of the third quarter, towards the end of the third quarter, maybe early fourth, get the kid in there, get him some reps. Trial by fire, baptism by fire. Maybe he's not cut out for the NFL. You'll never know with him sitting on the bench collecting a clipboard because people perform differently in practice. Amani Toomer was a terrible practice player, but come game day on Sunday, he played well. Now, I'm not saying Jake Fromm is going to light it up on Sunday, but you need to give the guy reps because he's one injury away from being in the game anyways, and if he has no reps to even get his feet wet, to understand the cadence, to understand how to call a play, to do all that stuff that a quarterback needs, and it's not going to work out. As for the game on Sunday, a few things I'm looking for. I'm looking for some of the young guys on defense to continue their good play. Tay Crowder, Azeez Ojulari, McKinney. Try to see if those are guys that really will be here next year. As for the offense, not really much going on here. I'd like to see them establish Shepard more, maybe do more running plays. We'll see. That Dallas defense is playing lights out right now, and they're coming in hungry. And the Cowboys hate the Giants, and they're gonna want to humiliate them. They're gonna want to humiliate them and make them. They remember what happened in Dallas, the punching that happened after the game. There's gonna be some trippiness to this game. I don't know if the Giants are going to keep it close. I know people were excited about garbage touchdowns last week. Oh yeah, great, we scored 21 points. Yeah, that's Joe Judge saving his neck when he goes down and sits in front of Mara and goes, "See, we scored 21 points here, we scored 21 points there." But the fan base will have a big portion of this game. Seems like a lot of Giants fans are bailing on the team, and it might be a Cowboy whitewash out there. So we'll see what happens. As always, I'm always going to watch the game. I'm always going to root for the team. I'm always going to sit there and invest my 3 hours. I know it's going to be bad. And then on Monday when I come on here and I want to scorched earth everything, it's for, that's the relief we get. And I hope that frustration that I'm portraying to you guys is what the frustration that you guys have. If you like this video, subscribe. I don't really ask for much subscriptions, but hey, you know what? We're on YouTube. You might as well subscribe if you like what you're hearing. Leave me a comment. Disagree, don't agree. But hey, this has been The Hurry Up. I'm your host, Adam. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the game.